Hello. Hola. Hola. My name is Eduardo Partipilo. I'm from Venezuela and I'm a front-end developer at Dog Planner, Barcelona. I'm going to talk about our VueJS migration, but first I want to know if anyone is migrating some framework to another framework in front-end. Anyone is migrating? One. And anyone knows something about Angularjs or not? Because I'm going to talk about, okay, you want to know? Okay, little, but it's okay. I'm going to try to be as agnostic as possible, but sometimes I will talk about some things in Angular, but not so deep. So why Vue? I'm not going to say the technical part because it could be any framework. In this case, we choose Vue because of this reason, and most of them are a product decision. We need to improve performance. Angular, you have just a big JS file or CSS file, and it's like decreasing the performance of the web, so we need to improve it. We don't have more support on AngularJS, so we need to evolve. Dog Planner, we have in Dog Planner a beautiful UI kit, and we want to take advantage of that, and it's made in Vue. So I'm talking about the software as a service application. We have the marketplace, which is more evolved and already has the Vue UI kit installed. So talking about that, that other product, and we need to unify technology because we wanted to I don't know how to say, to take advantage of what in Poland have learned about Vue and this kind of thing. So it was easy to us to get into Vue. So we first talk about this because we coming from AngularJS, so you have a kind of structure of the application and architecture. So we had some doubts, and the first thing was, can Vue application live inside an Angular 1? Because we wanted to keep the product alive, and it was a must. So it was the first question, and well, it's all JavaScript, so yeah, we could, we should, we can have that inside. Will they be able to communicate? It's JavaScript, so we think that it's possible. This, can Vue take over all HTTP requests? This was like, okay, let's look for something common and let Vue control some things, and maybe the HTTP request, so we can remove the Angular HTTP service. So it could be possible. And one important thing is, can developers still be working on the current AngularJS project? Because we have developers, Angular developers, and moving to Vue, it's easy, but you have to keep the product going and also have the team comfortable. Also, we have like full stack, and full stack, they do their best to have front-end things done, but they cannot be at this evolving process of the front-end. They always have to take care of what they are touching, because they have to take care also in the backend. So it would be better that they can also keep the Angular part evolving and fixing things in Angular, not just, hey, you have to move to Vue. No, that's a little bit mean. So we started to try things, and the first thing was, okay, the first obvious thing. Let's do a little component in Vue, put it in Angular, and let's see how it works. So at the first time we decided, okay, let's try to do one little feature. And the first thing we found is that, okay, we need to add some data to Angular, and we have to make some code about it, and it will be like going one step backward. And it was something that we won't keep it in the future. So we want to get rid of the Angular framework. So this wasn't the best approach. The other approach by URL, sometimes you can, you have one path, then you click in some button, you go to a second path, and you can render anything in any other framework or whatever. and you can do the trick. But in a single page application, it's difficult depending on the communication between features. So it wasn't the best approach. So you have to mimic in your, for example, in your second path, you have to mimic the same layout you have in the first path, and it's could be quite complex because if you have, for example, some menu and you have to fix some menu in Angular, then you will have to fix it in Vue. So this was not also a good approach for us. This is not, I want to mention that this is not the one way of doing things. This is just adapted to our product. Another approach could be like replication. You can replicate the site. For example, if you have a small site, you can replicate the whole site. Let's do this again in Vue, and that's it. Then when we are finished, okay, you just feature toggle this and just release the new application. But when you have a medium-sized application, it's not so easy to do that, and you won't have two developers team to do this. You have little resources or whatever, or you don't see this as a product a good approach. So we have to also don't think about this solution. At last, we came out for something like, what if we load Vue application as a library, and both have control over the browser? For example, we just load both frameworks, and we use whatever we need in the DOM, depending on the framework. One framework will take care of this, one framework will take care of that. So, and all the developers can still be developing things in Angular, and the new features could be done in Vue. So this seemed like a good idea for the product. Sorry. Okay. Now the takeover. This was like the plan. What Vue needs to take the control of the application, because at the end we want the Vue to be like the responsible and then deprecate Angular. So we thought, okay, this is a key thing. I don't know if you know the Vue router. It has something like abstract routing, and I think it was a very important thing here, because it's like the router is there, the Vue router is there, but it's not making the page to refresh, the browser to refresh. So it was a very important thing. Now the router could be like there, the Vue will know the routes, but it won't do anything unless you tell Vue to do that. Another thing was like, we need to take control of the authorization I would say luckily, we have everything under authorization, so we can manage the authentication layer with Vue. So this could be important. If we manage the authentication, we can move on and take more control in the Vue application. And then manage the data. If we can get Vue to manage all the data, then we can say Angular what we want. Okay, Angular, here's the data, do what you want. So we thought these three things were the most important in our context to have the application control. So now, how Vue gets into this application flow? This is sometimes it's hard to explain this, but I'm going to give it a try. So this is a simple, very simple example of an Angular application. So we have the Angular application. The Angular application depends on the root. Says, okay, you have to authorize, or you can go on and get the data and then render the view, and that's it. This was the Angular application. Then, if we want to add view, what we did was, okay, first let's add view, and init the view router also. And in this point, view is the one who knows which is the path we are going to load. Then the view router says, okay, this path, I know this path, and this path needs authentication. So go authenticate, and then come back, and I'll see if I let you go the next step. So when you think it's ready, it let Angular know where it is. So, okay, I'm ready, and Angular, do your job. At this point, what could happen is, okay, I know the path, I want to authenticate, or I know the path, I want Angular to do whatever Angular needs to do. It could be a known route or not in the view router. Then Angular decides, okay, I know the route, or I don't know the route. I know that it can be authenticated or not, it must be authenticated, or just go on and get the data. So what happens here now that we are, sorry, I'm going back. Okay, now Angular decides, okay, Vue, the route you sent me, it's not okay. I know that this route, because at this point, Vue doesn't know what is Angular doing. Vue just know that I have to be here, I know this route, and the rest of the process will be done by Angular. So sometimes could happen that Angular says, hey, the route you sent me, I don't know it. Can you fix it, change it, or make whatever you need to do that, because I don't know this route. Okay, Vue will do the things, and then Angular know what the change has been done. And then, now, they can get the data and work. What it is now in the DOM will be like both frameworks will be rendering things in the DOM. So now we have both frameworks working at the same time and communicate by events or route. I will explain now later. So another case could be like Vue knows the route because we already migrate some route. For example, I will show you an example later. For example, we know report path, we now migrate it to Vue. Angular now does know that route, and what could happen is Angular doesn't know the route and it just renders blank. But Vue renders what it needs to render. So that's one path. The other path is the opposite. Okay, Vue doesn't know the route, but Angular knows the route, and Angular renders what it needs to render. And as we are moving to Vue, Vue takes control of the 404 because none of them knows the path where they are going to land. So Vue decides to show the 404 page. And this is more or less the flow when they are working together. I hope I have explained it right. Now, what else? Where are they being rendered? Because, we are rendering things in the DOM. So where are the position? Now, in our application, we have the advantage of we had the whole Angular application under this element, and now we added the new Vue element, which is this one. So depending on who is rendering what, it's going to populate this element or the other. When both have things to say, they both will render things. So in this case, you have to deal with some CSS, some tricks in the CSS to show the elements where you want. But I think it's simple. We also add some things like, for example, where is the Vue root render right now? In this case, unknown private. So this means that Vue knows that this root is private, but doesn't know what to render. So that's why Angular is rendering something in this case. How are we integrating VueJS? So yes, we have now Vue and Angular, and we have to think about, okay, how we load these Vue things into Angular. We thought about NPM package, but if you do an NPM package, you will have to make versions and deploy things and compile, and then Angular must know that this package has been updated, so it's a little bit messy to do that. Then you can use Lerna. You could think, okay, you can use Lerna for that, but we don't want to keep the version in the Angular project. We want to remove the Angular project, so this was like overthinking a little bit. Also, we thought about genre workspaces, which is having a common node-modulus between them. We will go for that, but right now, at the moment, was a little bit complex because they share different kind of libraries, so we thought it wasn't a good approach also. So we discard that, but I think we will go for more workspaces now because we want to reduce the package of both applications. Now, how did we decide to integrate the Vue project? We had this front-end Angular folder where it was the whole front-end was there, the Angular project, and the easiest way was, okay, let's create a folder with the Vue project, and it was simple. It seems simple. You don't have to deal with any package manager or anything. And it seems like a clean solution also for the rest of the developers. Also thinking about the full stack team and the guys, the backend team, that they just have to touch little things in the front end, not to know the whole architecture. So to make things easy, we just, in the index of the Angular project or the main.js, we just require the front-end Vue project, and we declare it in the Angular module as a Vue application. We call it Vue app, to be clear. Now we have our Vue application in this variable. So Angular can interact with the Vue application through this variable. Benefits of we saw on this is less Git impact. We thought, okay, it's just one new folder. Anyone will notice, and they will have a new folder download. No one will notice. Well, the same, just git pull and you have new folder, and that's it. We don't have any extra configuration, just declaring one more variable in Angular. We don't have to explain anyone anything. And the good thing is that we have here in the front-end Vue folder the Vue project. We can deploy, or we can just develop in the Vue project without knowing anything about Angular, and it's faster to deploy, develop, and everything. So we have that scoped, that Vue project scope in that folder. And Vue, as I said, does not depend on the Angular project. Vue can be a project with his own router and everything he needs. Now we talk about that they communicate between routers, and they have to tell each other if they agree in the routing or the path they are going to land. So we had to deal with the router synchronization, which was a little bit tricky. So to keep routers synchronized, we create Angular service, which is the one that it's responsible to listen for any state change on the Angular router. And when any state change, it tells the Vue application, push a new location, a new path to the Vue application. The Vue application, the Vue router will say, okay, on complete, I won't do anything. But if I see something that I have the control. The Vue router have the control. So if the Vue router sees something weird in this new state of the Angular, it will redirect the Angular and will say, hey, Angular, no, now I have the power and I will go back to this path because I think this is the right path. And in the Vue router side, imagine you have some feature in Vue router and you are changing things inside the Vue application. You will have this event trigger after each route the Vue application sends. It will check if the path is different from the Angular one and tells the Angular project to reload. This is avoiding the loop. It could be a hack, could be a fix or whatever, but it's working. And it just guarantee that we won't enter in this router's loop. So if they both are in the same path, it means that they are agree that they have to be in that path. So it's like a good solution for us working right now. The communication between them, because we have to share things between them, of course, they are a single page application, so they need to share data. So we managed to do an event bus, which is a simple event. Vue just emit any event Vue needs to emit. In this case, it's some HTTP server just emit some request error, and the Vue, as we have the Vue and the Angular, as we have the Vue application, it just listening to any events we need and then do whatever it needs. In this case, it's just notifying that the API or the request has some kind of error. And it's rendering something in Angular. And that's it. It's a simple communication between them. In Vue, you try to avoid event bus things and broadcast things, but in this case, communicating them, it's working fine. Just in special cases, of course. The HTTP request, we set this service from Vue, the HTTP service, to get every REST communication calling to APIs. And now, as we have the Vue application in Angular, we can get from Vue the request. You will just tell Vue that I want this call to be done and just return it to me, and I will do whatever I want. So it's also clean and simple communication. We are like replacing the HTTP servers here from the Angular. Sorry. Oof. As we are getting things in the Vue side, we can store it in our Vuex, and Angular can get any variable he wants from the getters or store or whatever he wants to do because of the Vue communication. So as we are migrating things to Vue, these are disappearing from the Angular side. So Angular can ask anything to Vue, whatever it needs. Some advantage are, for example, now the application, or in that time, the application was, Angular had 2 big files, or depends on the chunks you define on the Webpack. But we have 2 big files, application and libraries. And now we are starting to see things like that, like more chunks, and the Angular files are getting smaller each time we migrate something. So it's a good thing to see. Now we get more things like lazy loading and things like that, and we are improving the performance a lot. We also can take a full advantage of our Doc Planner UI kit and use it in the Vue project as we need, with all the things that the UI kit gives us. So this is just an example, just using like Vue use components. So in the Angular project, it's a little bit more difficult. Also, we have a very old CSS that is very difficult to remove, and so moving to a UI kit is a very big advantage for us. I'm also a big fan of the UI kit because it's very well done. The development flow we found in the Angular application, like for example, they did npm install, yes. And what we do is, as the intention was that anyone could notice the difference. So when they do npm install in the Angular project, behind we are making a yarn and jar build from the Vue project, because we are using the Vue project as a build application. Yes, npm and yarn. We try to move everything to yarn, but we are still working on that. Now we have both package managers, but we are trying to move everything to yarn. Then they have, to run the application, they have to npm run start, which will be also, if you, for example, you stop your server, you want to start it again. Every time you need to start the Angular project, we build a Vue project. So you can develop in the Angular project without knowing that nothing has changed. If you don't know anything about Vue, nothing has changed for you. You can touch the Angular project and keep working like you were doing until now. Also, we have sometimes we finish one feature and we want to test it in the Angular project, because as we can develop in the Vue project, we don't see the Angular one. In this case, we have the build watch, which is I can touch things in Vue and see the reaction in Angular. So it's also nice to see. It's a little bit slow because you have two projects at the same time in the development mode, but you could be the changes you see in the Vue in Angular at just runtime. Well, this is just for deployment. When you run from the pipeline run build in Angular, it will just build the Vue application just to be sure that everything is up to date. And last thing, well, I just mentioned that we have the yarn serve just to develop the Vue application, the Vue side of the project. I want to show you a demo. This is not in production yet. This is also in development. It will be on production very soon. So example of this is an example. This is our application. For example, this is just Vue. We can see here the elements. And for example, we have our Angular application here, our Vue SaaS application here. So you see it's empty. We don't have anything here. So we just migrate reports. It's a whole feature. And now we can see that the Vue application, we have the DOM field with all the things from Vue. And the Angular application is just have the layout and the menu and no more than that. So this is a live example. It's not theoretical. So it's working. And we have now, and I have here the Vue project, just the report section without anything from Angular, just the Vue project. We can see that they behave the same if I choose, for example, this. And I choose the same here. We can see that it's the same. It's the same. We're just seeing the same things. So that's a very good thing. And now we have been on production with this like 2 months, and we have our product owners very happy with this. You have any question, anything? It's not difficult to move. The difficult part is to see what the hell we have done in the Angular project and replicate it to the Vue project, because you will find things like so many exceptions and many things that you don't know, and you have to rethink about the product, and maybe you don't need to move it to Vue. You can. It's working like that. So what the rule could be, if we have something big to improve in this feature, we move it to Vue and we make the effort to move it to Vue. If we don't have that, we can leave it and take another thing more simple than that, because some of the modules are very big, and the downside of this is that you have to move a big module. You have to move a big thing. So you can plan depend on the application you have. Depends on your legacy code. But it's, for example, we have the a team from Poland. 3 of them went to Barcelona and they said, we want to migrate something. So we choose one feature, and in 4 days they had it migrated. So dedicated to that, adding the UI kit, and they just, in 1 week, they just did the job. So it can be done very quick if you focus on that. Yeah, we have, but we have to keep the product alive and fixing things of the product. Yeah, but yeah, I cannot tell a date. We thought about maybe 6 months, but depends on what the new things are going on or fixes. We have to pause it, because the good thing, you can pause, you can keep going, you can pause, because you have the product going on. Yes, yeah, we can. Also, we are dealing with separation of we have a monorepo now, and we have one to separate front-end from backend, and that's also one thing that it's like a parallel. We have both of the projects going on. So we as a front-end, I want first to separate, and then I can make very easily. But product things or product owners decisions. So, but yeah, it's done when it's done. Yeah, we have been like 3 months moving. Yes. The biggest challenge was the synchronization of the routers. Was because at the first time we had 2 routers, and you know that Vuex and both routers, when you change something in the root, they just send a refresh to the browser, and an event, a window refresh event to the browser. So that was, we didn't know what to do. But in the Vuex Vue router, you find in one page, in one line, that you can use the abstract routing. That things you said, okay, this is something Vue router has, but we don't need that. But after reading that 10 times, you see that, okay, this is what I need. The abstract routing is just Vue router doing things, but without letting the browser know. But I know what it's doing. So that was the tricky part. So when we find that the abstract routing was working, and we can change the Vue router as we want, and then tell the Angular when I want to tell him, okay, change the route, we just like see the light, because at the beginning was a little bit like frustrating, but that was the biggest, because the rest is like JavaScript communicating between them. Yes. Any other question? Okay, so yeah. The team had not so much experience with Vue. They just touched Vue because we tried to do it several times, so it was a small step. So the knowledge of Vue was very simple. But with this approach, we find that even if someone from Angular wants to learn Vue, this is a good way to learn, because you just build your Vue project or develop in your Vue project, and you can experiment with the Vue project. So you are like learning, like with a live tutorial or something. You are learning by how can I say, by doing. Yes. So we had, I could say that we have the minimum knowledge of Vue to start doing this. Also, Vue is very simple, and you know, sometimes I don't know if you can feel it, that Vue is like Angularjs could be or should have been, and it was like very natural evolution. Yes. Well, thank you all for listening, and I hope you have understand this, which is a very interesting topic. Thank you.